Hello everyone. Before this episode begins, I wanted to advise that there will be some heavy topics discussed in this video, as comes with serving in law enforcement. Some people may find it difficult to listen to, so we added timestamps and on-screen audible warnings of upcoming possibly mature topics. With that said, thank you for tuning in, and enjoy the episode. Hello r/teenagers, and welcome to Teencast, the show that delves deep into the professions of personalities all across the world. My name is Saturn, and I am joined by two of our other hosts, Josh and Andy. Andy is now a permanent host on the team, and he was
Hello.
always behind the scenes as a producer, but now I'm happy to say he'll be joining us indefinitely. I'm delighted to announce that the special guest joining us for episode 3 of Teencast is the one and only Benjamin Pearson. Ben is known for his work on the hit UK show Police Interceptors. He served 19 years in the West Yorkshire Police, mostly in the Roads Policing Unit. If you'd like to say a little bit about who you are, Ben, that would be great.
Yeah, good afternoon from England. Thank you very much for having me. My name is Ben Pearson. I'm a former West Yorkshire police officer, specialising, like I said, in roads policing, where I think it's slightly different to what the United States has. So we're pursuit specialists in the UK, deal with high performance vehicles, burglaries, and obviously initiatives like that to get the criminals off the road. And I was diagnosed with complex PTSD in 2020. I medically retired and I became a best-selling author, YouTuber, and I suppose mental health advocate, really. And then next thing I know, it's gone worldwide, which I'm really happy about. And then I'm happy to be here.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Ben. So many of our listeners will aspire to be police officers like yourself. And obviously they'll want to know a bit about the process. So could you tell us a little bit about the process that you went through to become part of the police force and
Yeah, so
form
just
who
first
you
of all, let
were
me start off
during the
that
police
saying
force?
when I was at school, I wasn't very academic. I suffer with dyslexia and partial dyspraxia. So I've never thought, it's always been a childhood dream, but I never thought I'd be able to get in. So all I'd say to people is never, whatever you're told to do in life, always do what you want to do and believe in yourself to do. Because sometimes people will sit in your face and say, you can't do that. And I'm a prime example of someone that says, well, you can do that. All you've got to do is put your best effort in and try your hardest, and doors will open. So, yeah, I've always wanted to join, didn't do very well at school. And then I went to live in Spain with my ex-partner, came back, and then she said to me, why don't you try and join? I didn't have the confidence at the time to want to join, so I ended up working in a motorbike dealership selling BMW motorcycles. And it were only then that dealing with those customers, most of those customers that I were dealing with at the time were all police officers. And they were saying you seem to have the right attitude and right level of confidence to be able to join the police. Now, I myself obviously lack the confidence, but I thought, I'll give it a go. So I applied for the application form. I did it. And one of the things that people don't realise about the police is from the moment you apply for an application form, everything you do is being a test. So it will say, please write in black ink, please write in capitals. If you don't write in black ink, they're just bin it. If you don't write in capitals, they're just bin it. You're surprised how many people write in green pen, write in red pen, don't write in capitals,
Wow.
write in, I suppose you call it cursives or whatever,
Jesus.
do joined up writing or whatever they want to do. And it's like, no, they're basically doing it to make sure you can follow the rule book from start to finish. Once your application's in, you go through a paper sift, make sure you've got no criminal record, make sure you're not related to anyone that's dangerous or has been locked up, you're not related to Al Capone, so to speak. And then you go for an interview. Once the interview's done, you go what's called a carousel. Now, the carousel to me was what I excelled in at the time. And in theory, I think they still do it now. And what they'll do, they'll put you in a room. On the outside of the door, it will say to you, you've got 3 minutes to read it. And it'll be a short script. And it might say, you're called Stan. You are the security guard at a shopping centre. This little boy's gone missing. His mum's in here. And now you've got 10 minutes. And that's all it'll say. You can't be 9 minutes, 40 seconds. You can't be 10 minutes, 1 second. You've got to be 10 minutes. And there's a clock on the wall, and
Jesus. Wait, what
well,
happens
there
if
you
you
go.
go over or
You
under?
just that's when you lose points.
Do they just
Because again, if you think about it, you've
wow.
got to be 10 minutes. So they're telling you what you've
Jesus.
got to do. So you've got to. They always say RTFQ, read the effing question. And then if you don't understand, read it again. It's always, the answers are always in the questions. So you go in and you've got to be like, hi, I'm Stan or whatever, and I'm security guard, hope you're all right. I know your son's gone missing. Let's sit down, let's work it out. Do you need a drink first? Do you need it to call anyone? And it goes like that. And it basically is stepping you up to get as much information from people as possible. Because when you go into rapes, you go into murders, you go into fatal collisions, you need to be getting as much evidence as possible. So all they're doing is they're starting you on the bottom run of that. Passed that with flying colours, and then literally got an email to come do my fitness test. Did my fitness test, and at the time I was working out a lot. I was doing a lot of running, so I excelled in that as well. And then luckily, I got a piece of post come through the door saying, "Congratulations, 1st of October 2001." I don't know if any of you born then. 1st of August 2001, you are 1965, based at Keighley, come for the start of your career. And I think that's when, don't judge me on this, because you have silly ideas when you're older. And one idea I think about getting a tattoo was born in 1976, but made by 1965. And it makes no sense, but, well, do you know what
That'd
I
have
mean?
been a cool
Well,
tattoo.
and
I like that.
it's made me who I am. Not only it's made me, yes, it's made me poorly, but it made me who I am as a person. So it sent me down south for 17 weeks to do the training. You live away from home, you learn how to wine, you learn how to make your own food or look after yourself. You learn how to do your own study time. You learn how to bull your boots so they're all shiny like they are in the army. And then you literally, when you've done your training, you literally go under, like, I'm going to say you're like an apprentice. You go with a police tutor for 10 weeks, or it might be more now, and they assess you each day. And it was little things like that threw me out of my comfort zone. So I've never met any of you three lads before, but I'm your tutor. We've been called to someone has been assaulted, and I'll say, right, Saturn, go. And then you're like, what? And I'm like, just go. What's the biggest weapon a police officer's got? And they'll say, oh, he's got a gun. He's got, no, it's your mouth. It's that simple. It's your biggest weapon. So you can get anything you want in life by asking for it. You can do anything. You can marry the person you love. You can ask for £1 million, whatever. But if you've got to be able to say, I need this, I want this. So you go in, and all it is just learning to talk to people, learning to say, how are you today? What is it I can do for you today? Well, I've been assaulted, right? Tell me how you were assaulted. Tell me what's happened. Tell me what the perpetrator looked like. Tell me what your injuries are. Tell me what you want to do about it. And I found it was something that I always seemed to start off at the bottom in everything I've ever done in life. Every job I've ever had, I start at the bottom. But and sometimes I plateau quickly. Sometimes I go up a little bit and I go a level. But when I joined the police, it felt like every day I was increasing every single thing about me. My personality, my sense of humour, my awareness for people, being able to read situations, my driving abilities, my takedown abilities, everything for 19 years, every day just stepped up. And again, like I said, it made me who I was. That's why the TV show came knocking and whatever happened with that. So yeah, it's something that it has made me poorly, but I'll never look back. I'll never hold back. And I'm glad if people say to me now, would you rejoin again? Yes, I would rejoin again, because it's made me who I am. And I think that's what not only does the police do, the fire service, the ambulance, but the Army, Navy and Air Force as well. They push you and make you into a good person, and I recommend it for anybody.
That definitely sounds like a sorry.
That's great.
That was
Yeah, go on, Andy.
that was a long
Andy, go
journey
on.
to make it to where you are now. So I want to circle back to how you said when you were thinking of applying for the police force, you said you struggle with, was it dyslexia when you were younger?
Yeah, dyslexia. I was never diagnosed until I had a collision in 2000. I think it was 2011, 2012, and I got brain damage in a collision. But then diagnosed with dyslexia, and then obviously a bit of dyspraxia, because when I'm in a high pressure situation, such as when I'm on the police motorcycles and I'm escorting the royal family or the prime minister, and you've got to look at road signs, and I don't know how it is in America, but in England it might say A6258 leading to A6259. But when I'm hurtling down them at 110 miles an hour in a Royal Escort with lights going, and I'm looking at the boards, the letters and numbers start moving round, note stays in the same space, and it's like, I don't like this. So then I had to have my ops, or what we call a pilot, which is the lead motorcycle in front of the convoy. He'd know the route, and he'd say, bend next junction, right, bend next junction, left. So I could see the sign, but I also knew I was going to be going a certain distance. So yeah, dyslexia and dyspraxia.
So obviously, that sounds difficult to deal with, but you were able to make it into the force and be obviously very successful with that struggle. Have you, given that you were in the force for a long time, you would have met a lot of people. So would you say you've seen a lot of people with like different backgrounds, maybe similar to yours? Just how diverse would you say the police force is? And is there like a specific colleague or anything that maybe stood out to you?
Yeah, so it's a good question, is that. So I'm going to break it into two ways. So first way is, yeah, I've met a lot of people that have things like dyslexia, dyspraxia. I've got a lot of people that I've worked with that some have got ADHD, some have had different issues throughout their life, some have been physically hurt, severely physically hurt, so they've come off a certain role and they've been told you're never going to go back out on the job. Some have been shot. There's some have been stabbed. There's all sorts of different things that have happened to police officers that way. And I've also worked with all these different people from completely different backgrounds. One of the colleagues I worked with came from a broken home. His mum and dad died when he was young, so he went into childcare. Then he got abused, but then he's gone back into the police. So he's come from technically a broken home. Then I've got other friends that have come from very rich backgrounds, and then people from different religions, obviously different colours of skin, different upbringings due to how can I put it, family beliefs, completely different family beliefs. So it's a massive mix of people. So this is what I don't understand, and I don't know how it is in States to how it is in England. But there's always a lot of things thrown around, which I will say about institutionalized racism and all this sort of thing. But from when I joined in 2001, when all I can say is it was, you could in theory say, I'm not saying anything racist, you could say what you wanted without people being offended, to how it is now in 2024, where it's very, you've got to,
Do you
yeah,
think it's
you can
definitely
be very
changed
inclusive. Yeah,
with
so
within the inclusiveness of that?
definitely seen a
Yeah.
massive thing, because I think we were our chief constable. I think about 2012. She came in with rainbow laces and a rainbow lanyard, and everyone like, "What's this?" No one knew what this. What? Why were you wearing rainbow? And then that's what I mean. So you can see how the steps go, and every single person has not gone, "Why are you wearing rainbow laces?" It's for LGBTGQ, whatever it is. It's like, all right, because we just didn't know. And then next thing you know, they've brought something else in. Next thing they brought some, and it's a learning development for not just the police officers, but this is everyone in life. Because if I wanted in police and I worked in a bank or I worked somewhere else, you'd be told about this and you'd be told about that, and then laws change and things. So everything I've ever seen and everything I've ever done over the last 19 years of the police, we're all very inclusive. Everyone were, didn't matter where you were from, didn't matter what colour you were, didn't matter what religion you were. You were wearing a uniform, you were in a van, a riot van, you were all police officers. You got out, you went drinking with those people, or you went to parties with those people, or barbecues with those people, and they were all friends. You were all in one group, if that makes sense. And that's what made it very, very good, because you could turn around to that person next to you and then think, right. So we had a gentleman called Fez. He were brilliant. Muslim gentleman, absolutely fantastic. His wife used to bring in, or let him bring in kebab samosas and this sort of thing. And then you start talking about his religion, and you start understanding. I'd never understood this before. I'd never understood that before. So you start learning more and more and more. And then half an hour later, you'd be in a pursuit at 150 mile an hour, rubbing wing mirrors with each other and sparks flying off. And you're thinking, out of everybody, if you could turn around and say, well, you're this or you're that, or the police are institutional racists, you think, this is that man that's just had my back and I've had his back. And half an hour before, we were chowing over his wife's food. And it's that inclusion of everybody, and that's what I think is very, very good. So yeah, there's so many dynamic colleagues that we've worked with, But as you were saying, in every job, there's always going to be different people. And especially in the police, it always brings a mash of people together. And I think that's why where I worked, it were a good place to work. It were hard, but it were a good place to work due to the people that were there.
Yeah, no, definitely. It seems like you're sort of working towards like a common goal there, all being the police. So you can sort of set aside whatever background differences, whatever you might have. Definitely seems like
Yeah,
a
The camaraderie.
yeah,
for
you know, definitely because you're seeing things and you're doing things that no one in life should ever see. I'm aware this is for the younger generation, so to speak. So, but I will tell it how I see it. But you're seeing things that will upset you. You see things that will leave a lasting impression on you. So you need those people that can rely on you, and you rely on them as well. So you need to have someone to have your back at all times. So yeah, it is hard, but it's worth it in the long run.
It's just kind of the job itself brings everyone together, regardless of who they are or what makes them them. It's just kind of you have to work together. Just that's just how the job is.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter gender, color, skin tone. You know.
no, exactly, and that's one thing I've never understood. I've never understood why people attack other people due to the religion, due to the background, due to football hooliganism. One thing I actually detest is why we're all in England, we all live in England, we're all English, but you support Liverpool, I support Man U, so I'm going to smash your face in. But then, when we'll go to play with World Cup, all England fans will stand together then against Germany. Germany will smash your face in. But as soon as World Cups end, I don't like you because you're from Liverpool, I'm from Manchester. And I'm like, no, everyone should be on a common ground. And I always say, and I say to my kids, I've got a daughter who's 10 and I've got a son who's 7. And I always say to my kids, it's easier to help someone than it is to harm someone. And if you see someone fall and you pick them up, and if you see someone bleeding, you tend to the wounds, because you never know when that person's going to come back round and tend to your wounds or pick you up. So that's a philosophy I believe in, and hope a lot of people do.
I was just thinking, by the way, before you go, Saturn, I was just going to say about the rivalries, football rivalries. I know these two won't relate as much, but they can become incredibly bad, especially in like Manchester, London. It's
Yeah,
definitely
damn
a
right, damn
dangerous
right.
place
And
to
I've
be
seen some
around for
weird
sure.
things going on with that as well when they turn up, and you always get Leeds and Millwall would turn up, and you're like, sorry for my language, but fucking Millwall. And you'd be escorting from the train station, and they'd be trying to like put everyone and put windows through and throw chairs out of buildings and all sort. Then they're getting, and that was before they've even got into the match. And you're like, no, this in it should. My philosophy is it should be banned, but that's soccer and not American football. My friends watch American football; they love it. I went to watch baseball at Yankee Stadium and I loved it. But it's just a different kettle of fish from England to America.
Yeah. That's the next question. Just being someone experienced and so esteemed in the role, do you think there are any traits that are essential to being a good police officer that you learned in your time? And could anyone be a police officer, or do you think only certain types of people could?
Oh, I'll go that last bit first. Oof. Anyone can be a police. Oh God, you've thrown it out there. Right, so anyone can be a police officer, but only certain type of people can be good police officers. If that
Okay,
makes sense. The reason
that
being is
does.
anyone can fill an application form, anyone can do the theories, anyone can do the physical. But when you get in, you get weeded out very quickly. You get weeded out. There were people I got told when I first joined, the job goes at 100 mile an hour. If you keep up at 75 mile an hour, you'll do fine because it's always going to be in front of you and you're always going to be keeping up. If you just come in and you want to work at 50 mile an hour, we will leave you behind very, very quickly. Then you'll see those that will get to a pub fight and always stand at back. You'll see those that not want to get the pen out at any jobs and not want to take any statements. You'll see those that when you're shouting up for assistance, they're not going to be there. And you'll see those at end of month when you come back and you're, I've got so many arrests, and they've got, I don't have any. You'll soon see those people. Um, the biggest skill I learned was being able to talk and being able to listen. And I know it sounds stupid. There's a different thing between listening and, oh, sorry, there's a different thing between hearing and listening. And then you've got to understand what you're told as well. And I think that only comes with a certain type of either age or experience level. We have a lot of young people joining the police. Some of them and this is only some come out of, like, just say, for instance, university, and believe everything they've been told at university. You do not have to make a cup of tea for the team. You don't. But then you have people that have come off estates that'll join, and when they come in, they've already been on a building site, and then it'll be like, can you put kettle on and make us all a brew? And first thing, yeah, not a problem at all. So it's all this sort of thing you've got to understand. It's not just, oh, I've got a degree, or I've got this, or I've got that. It's about life skills, and life skills is what.
I hope you know, by the way, the Americans that are listening right now will have just heard you put kettle on and get a brew, and they're all at home laughing.
Put kettle on, get a brew, lad.
We can... Translation for the Americans here: turn on the grill and put on a hamburger. That's a translation.
You can fix the world with a nice cup of Yorkshire tea. You can fix the world over a nice brew.
Not PG tips, though. It has to be Yorkshire tea. It has to.
We don't ever buy PG tips. It's Yorkshire tea. I think being able to listen to people, in one of these things is because of my mental health as well. Since I broke, I've never met you before, and I can turn around and say, "Josh, how are you today? You all right?" And
great. How are you?
Could have just gone in one ear and out another. But you might want to say, "I'm struggling, Ben," and I've gone, "Yeah, all right, Josh, not a problem at all." Not listened. So it's about listening, and it's about listening and understanding what people say, rather than hearing something and not listening to what they've said. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned.
Hey everyone, just letting you know this next segment covers some mental health discussion, including PTSD, depression, anxiety, suicide, self-harm, and some child abuse. You can skip to the timestamp on screen if this content is too heavy for you.
100%. You just spoke there about, obviously, mental health, and you are extremely open about your mental health, which is inspiring to say the least. In the modern era, mental health has become a very important thing to obviously speak about, and I think in particular men's mental health, but it goes for everyone, how I don't think it's spoken enough about, even now. I was just wondering if you could tell us a bit about the battle you've faced in PTSD, depression, and anxiety. And do you think it's extremely important for more people to talk
so
about it?
For people that don't know, I've got complex PTSD, severe depression, and anxiety. So if you don't know what it is, I know it sounds stupid, it technically says it on the tin, but it's not that. If I just tell you, in theory, you've got a 1 foot by 1 foot filing cabinet built inside you, and this filing cabinet goes up every year 10 foot for every year you've got on the earth. So let's say I'm 35, it's 350 foot kind of thing. And each filing cabinet, each drawer is full of my emotions, memories, sounds, smells, everything of that year. So from the day I was born to my 10th birthday to everything, and every time you deal with a trauma, it drops a black brick on top of that filing cabinet. And eventually, some traumas, you might get one trauma, you might get 20 traumas, and once that trauma bangs on it, it can fall over. Those drawers come open, and all those images and memories go over the floor, but they mix in with a trauma. So you might remember your 10th birthday, and you might remember having a cake with some Coca-Cola and this sort of thing, but that's instantly mixed in with a car crash where you've picked a car up and there's been a 2-year-old baby in that car crash, but there's been a cola on the floor. So everything mixes in together, and that's what it's about. So you can be anywhere in the world doing anything, and literally something will happen, and it'll send you back to one of the worst things you've ever seen and done. You can end up peeing in my pants. It can literally bursting into tears, being uncontrollable breathing, panic attacks, and you just don't know where it's come from. It's just come because you've heard a noise, you smelt something. And then for having to deal with this from, in theory, it's nearly 5 years now, to being literally suicidal, sat on the edge of the bath with boiling hot water in the bath from the hot tap and a knife on my wrist, to struggling when Isaac was born, my son, not wanting to hold him, not wanting to be with him. And all I could do was think about hurting him. If you don't speak out, if you don't talk about what you're feeling and what you're seeing and what you're doing, all you're doing is compounding those black weights and those black bricks or that have dropped onto your filing cabinet and making them bigger and more powerful. So I always tell people to talk out, and the reason being for me, it's cathartic to talk about my mental health. But we've also got to understand what we don't want to do is we don't want to water down the term mental health. We don't want to water down the term mental illness, because there's a lot out there, and I've heard of so many recently that it's been called a new bad back. Oh yeah, this has happened. I've got a mental health thing. I saw something yesterday. I've got PTSD, and you think that, well, you can't have, because you've got to have your first 3 days for it to start analysing of what you've seen in your brain, trying to introduce this sort of like, well, that a trauma event. Then you've got to have 28 days or longer for that to start to get hold, and then you've got to have 28 days after for either some sort of first intervention or treatment that hasn't come forward for it to start to affect your body. So when someone says, "Oh, I witnessed a car crash," you say, "I've got PTSD today," you're like, you're just using words. And I always think there's a massive difference between a mental health and a mental illness. So I have got a mental illness. I've got it all the rest of my life. It's controlled by therapy. I have therapy every week that I've had for 5 years now. It cost me £75 a session. I've got to pay for it out of my own pocket, and it's controlled by medication. This keeps me on a plateau.
Only.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. And it keeps me on an even plateau. That's a mental illness. That will always be there. That's like schizophrenia or all these other things. A mental health aspect is basically like going to the gym with your body. Your mind can be fit, it can be weak, it can be strong, however you want to be. If you don't go to the gym and you don't want to exercise and your body just does what it normally does, you'll find it hard to run up an hill. It's the same if you don't look after your mind, you'll find it hard when something mentally comes your way, and it will affect you. But I am mentally ill, but I go to bed on a night happy, and I wake up in the morning happy. So my mental health, in theory, is really, really good, but I've still got this mental illness underlying. So there's a massive difference about mental health, and what I don't get is I know this young lad, I won't mention any names, he's 16, and he refused to go to school. He just said, "I'm not going to school because I'm having I can't remember what he called it, a mental stress day or something like that. I'm just too stressed." But then he goes out with his mates, and I'm like, you're just using words to accommodate ticking a box. You are not, yeah. So then you're taking it away from all these youngsters now that are poorly, all these people now that are struggling, that have been beaten, raped since they were kids, people that have seen horrific things, people that are struggling to know things about themselves, wrestling with their sexuality or whatever. Some people are just using it as a tick box exercise. I think it's very important to speak out, because sometimes when you speak out, you realise, well, it's not really mental health. I'm just having a bad day. I'm just struggling with everything, which we've all done from history of time. We've all got up in the morning. We've all struggled with something. I've struggled with my exams. I've struggled with thinking about my exams. I get a little bit of anxiety when I go on holiday and get on the plane. That's different to the fact of all I'm thinking about is death. All I want to do is hurt myself. All I want to do is hurt other people. I just don't want to be around here anymore. There's a massive difference here. So please don't take it away from the people that are struggling, but the people that are struggling, voice it massively, because when you bang that drum, people will listen.
Sure. I mean, it is there's in the modern era there is a big disparity, like you say, between mental health and mental illness, and I feel like TikTok and other social media platforms like that are a big influence in regards to that, because I feel like for the modern teenager, TikTok or something like that is quite damaging. They get told something, they get told, you should feel bad about this, you should feel bad about that, and it's just kind of like these little things here and there where there is a big difference between being genuinely mentally ill, going through trauma, having that mount up over time, and having what did your son say,
Yeah.
a mental stress day. I mean, I don't know, it's it's stuff like that. There is a big disparity between that, and people, I feel like some people don't realize that the fact that there is here
And I feel like
and then
people
there is down here, there
are
is a
going to
big
TikTok and
difference between
accepting
it.
these e-diagnoses from other people, and then they're taking it way to heart. So it's like they'll go on a TikTok and they'll be told that, oh, you have this, you have that, this is indicative of that, and it's not true at all. And so they kind of make it. Recently, I've seen them. They make it their entire personality, and they blame all of their flaws on this one disorder they don't know they have
Yeah,
because they saw it online.
no, I agree with that, because if you don't mind me asking, how old are you lot roughly?
I'm 20.
I'm 18.
Andy, you're muted.
Andy, you're muted.
Whoops, I'm 19.
Right. So I was born in '76. So when I was a young lad, you only had I had 3 channels on my TV before Sky TV came out. There were nothing open on a Sunday. Everything shut in the UK on a Sunday. You went out and played in dirt, and you only came back in when street lights came on at night. And this was from being 5 years old. You had a really good childhood because there was nothing like social media now. And yes, I'm on social media now. And some of the stuff I watch now, I'm just thinking, what the hell is this crap? It is just literally rubbish. And the amount of things,
Brain rot.
yeah, the amount of things that come from young 21, 22, 23-year-olds that are like, I've lived life and this is what I'm 48 and I ain't lived life. And I've seen and been and done a lot of stuff. Believe me, 20 odd year old, you literally, I don't mean you personally, but you know nothing. Even at 48, you know nothing. And like my dad says, you'll learn all your life. Everyone in life that wants to learn will learn every single day, and you will grow and your experiences will grow. And eventually you might get to a certain age, be a granddad, and turn around and think, I've done this, I've done that, I can issue you a bit of advice. But coming from someone that's got 100 million followers and they say this is a sign of this, that, and other, no, because you shouldn't have all this thing thrust at you. What you should do is make up your own decision. Don't look at your media. Wake up in the morning and see how you all feel. And if you're feeling good, crack on and have a great day. If you're not feeling good, well, I didn't feel good when I was 15, 16, 17, and 18. There was something, I've got a natural white streak in my hair. I was born with a thing called Waldenberg syndrome. So I'm part, in theory, albino. You try being 17-year-old, 18-year-old, this in the early 90s, when you can say what you want to someone, no one got offended. There was no such thing as racism or homophobic or anything like that. Well, literally, you walk down the street and everyone would shout everything at you. And then you would have bad days. You'd have days when you didn't want to get out of bed. You'd have days, but it wasn't depression. It wasn't anxiety. It was just you were going through a shit time. So sometimes what people have got to do is they've got to say, hang on a minute, I'm not living in a war zone. I'm not living with a childhood cancer or something like that. I've got a good life. I've got a good home. I've got a good family. I've got a good friend structure. Let's stand up. Let's go forward. Let's make a difference. Let's push forward every day. And if that's getting harder, yes, there might be something wrong. But don't settle because someone on social media with a million followers has said this, that, and other. And you don't have to live up to their standards. They're living in Hollywood. They've got millions and millions of pounds off their face sucked in, their ass sucked in, their nose rebuilt to look how they look. You just go out and crack on and look how you want to look, do what you want to do. And they're the best people in life. They will be the people that you will meet because obviously they're good people. Sorry about that. If you're in Hollywood and you've got a lot of money and you've had your nose rebuilt, I do apologise.
Especially these TikTokers who they get all this success and they're in a different universe than us, really. Like these people who are so high up there, millionaires trying to give advice to lowly plebs like us, You don't live the same life as us. I wouldn't take it to granted.
Yeah, exactly.
I just had to translate for Andy.
Andy, you understanding everything I say, or have you got your pocket translator out?
Yeah, Saturn's been interpreting for me anytime I'm confused.
He didn't know what sucked in the ass means, so I had to translate for him in Discord. So I grew up around my Scottish grandmother, so she spoke like that, so I know what it means.
Right.
So.
Like that.
No.
To be fair, I've surrounded by Yorkshire people, so it's just like another day in the office for me. It's great. Love it.
Yeah, so I want to
Andy
kind of move on to I guess a bit of a lighter topic here. So a lot of people would know you from your work you did with Police Interceptors, which a lot of our viewers aren't British. So just to summarize, from what I understand, at least, it's a British show that follows a bunch of police forces just like around the country and their daily activities. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, it's a Channel 5, which in the UK we've got obviously 5 major channels, and then we've got obviously Sky or whatever we have streaming services, Netflix. So we've got obviously 1 to 5, and it's on Channel 5 at primetime TV slot, and it's just basically like your Cops. I think you called it Cops in the US a while ago. That bad boys. What you going? I'm not going to sing it, but yeah, it follows around. So me. Stop laughing at me. And it follows around, and the one that I were on was West Yorkshire, and it was the most successful and viewed one in police interceptors history, if that makes sense, just due to how we were. We're just idiots. We just like to have fun. We're just silly Yorkshire lads that people seem to get on with. So yeah, and then
There is a YouTube compilation of your
is there?
highlights, particularly, and they
Have
are very, very funny. They are great. Yeah, there's on YouTube. If you literally just put in Ben Pearson, police interceptors highlights. Obviously,
oh,
you're
brilliant.
within clips, but yeah, it's the
Oh,
West
okay, I'm gonna
Yorkshire
watch that then.
highlight, so it's good.
So I just want to ask, like, how did what was the process for the West Yorkshire Police to like get involved with police interceptors? And do you think that it like changed how you go about just daily policing while they were filming?
Yeah, so they already filmed a series called Traffic Cops, which is a massive hit in the UK. So they were filming Traffic Cops. They then got the contract to do Interceptors. They put out for it, and a lot of people applied. Now I police the area where I live, which technically is a bit of a no-no, but I know the area like the back of my hand. I know all the criminals, and they're very fast roads for pursuits and things like that. So you've got to know the area. So they put me in the area, and because I've got a white streak, I couldn't go anywhere. I'd be in a local bar or a pub or the gym, and people would be shouting and swearing at me, and it's made my life hell as being in the police for my personal life. The last thing I ever wanted to do was go on TV, and it was just a no-no. So I went on my motorcycle course refresher, and I got back, and the lad who I was shooting at the time, I called Baby Ben from Interceptors. You might ask why they call him Baby Ben. Well, he came with me. I was Big Ben, and he was Baby Ben. It's that simple. We're a bit simple in England, so we made it really simple for other people. Big Ben and Baby Ben, and he went out and he basically said they're really nice, they're really good lads. It's a good crack, and you'll have loads of fun. So they'll said when you see something, there'll be a beep beep in back at car when they'll switch the camera on. But what people don't realise is in our police cars, we've got inbuilt cameras anyway, like a lot of your pursuit specialists do, which captures the pursuits. So as soon as we see something anyway, we press the button and it instantly records 5 minutes previous. So you can't be in car effing and jeffing and swearing and calling people this, that, and other, and look at her over there and being lads. You can't do it. So you just talk about your normal things we normally talk about. And then the cameramen are talking the same, but the cameramen that I work with film, what's that thing called? It's like Yukon Gold. You have it over there. There's Parker's Trail, gold diggers, some gold hunters or whatever it is. They were all filming there, so they've already done all the TV thing. They've already done all the big things. So I said, yeah, I'll go out for a drive. And then literally I come straight out of the police station in Bradford. So Saturn, and Andy, you won't know this, but Bradford, where I patrol, it's the biggest shithole on the planet. Last year, it was voted the most dangerous place to live in the
It
UK.
is.
It's a right shithole. So I drove straight out of the police station, and first car I got behind, big pursuit, made off, and I just heard this beep beep in back of car. I didn't pay any attention to it. Got out, did the job, and then what you get is you get a golden ticket, which means it'll be the first big story on Interceptors. And he went, "Oh, you've got a golden ticket there. That's the first one. All right, fine, not a problem at all." Dealt with the job, set back off, pursuit, beep beep. It went another golden ticket. So within first half an hour, I think we got 4 golden tickets. So the main faces for a minimum of 4 shows, and they're coming out of us for 6 weeks. So literally, the amount of boom, 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 boom we were having was just ballistic. And then when it aired, what people don't understand is this show is now. I've been told you get it in States, but I don't know. I don't know where you've got to look, but I've been told it's on TV in States, but it's worldwide. So I got off the plane at JFK Airport in New York and picking my luggage up from carousel, and all I can hear is Interceptors, PC Pearson, and you stood there and you're thinking, I'm in America, and people are shouting it. Walking down beach in Spain at Alicante, and literally like Interceptor, and it changed your life from one day to just going out, go to shops to the next day. Literally, you can't go anywhere without being recognised. I go with my children everywhere, and literally, I've just come back from Lanzarote, islands in there, recognised an airport, recognised twice on plane, recognised when we landed, straight to hotel, recognised in the hotel, recognised outside at pool. Then every restaurant we went in on that night, recognised again, and it's just constant. I haven't been on it for 4 years or 5 years now, and it's constant still photographs and autographs everywhere you go, and it doesn't stop. The pace we have, it just gets more and more and more because it's still shown now on. I think it's nearly every day on Channel 5 at some point. West Yorkshire is shown on that. If not, it's shown on Paramount. Dave.
I'm not sure how much you know about as well. There is constantly as well like TikTok clips of police interceptors, YouTube shorts. Like people literally all they do is screen record maybe a minute clip of police interceptors, and you just watch it on that.
It's because, I think it's because we're a bit more off the cuff than traffic cops. So we say what we want and do what we want, and it gives really good TV out for people. And then the kids love it, the parents love it. We do these interceptor shows every year. We've just done one. 4,000 people came to see us. We raised £8,000 for mental health awareness, and it was bedlam. It was just bedlam. They were just queuing up 30 deep just to be able to get a photo. And this is 4 or 5 years down the line, and just to get 4,000 people to come and see you is, for me, I'm really, really humbled, and I love trying to make a difference. And I got told, if you have a platform, do it, make a difference for good. You know what I mean? That's what we're trying to do.
So earlier you mentioned like you didn't want to go on a TV show and be doing something you weren't supposed to do, with like patrolling the area where you live or whatever. But did you feel like, even if you were following all the regulations, whatever, did you feel like there was subconsciously like more pressure than normal to make sure everything gets done perfectly as it should, as you're just policing?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but no, because I'm going to sound geeky. I were good at my job, and I were a bit of a professional and perfectionist anyway, so everything got done right. The only thing you thought is you wouldn't be able to, you might have a fraudulent slip of the tongue, and you might say something that were a little bit off. But the cameramen and the producers all sat down with you and said, "We are not here to hang you out to dry. We are here to make you look good. So if there's something happened that's wrong, we will sort that out, cut it out, and then it's all got to go then to the Chief Inspector of Operational Support, because we're in op support. Then it's got to go to our corporate comms. It's got to pass them, and it's got to go to the Chief's corporate comms. It's got to go past them before it goes on TV. So there were no thoughts of me ever dragging someone out of a car saying, get the fuck on the ground and kicking them in the face, because it's just something I wouldn't be doing. It's just, we're just not like that over here. The only thing I thought was sometimes I swore a lot, and I thought, they're not going to like this. But then they just beeped it out. But that's the person I am. If I pull you over and you're kind and polite with me, I'm just how I am now. Hey up, how you doing? Can I see your driving license? This sort of thing. But if I stop you and you're effing this, effing that, effing this in my face, I'm going to be effing this, effing that in your face, and I will give as good as I get. And I'm 6'2". 18 stone, so I think that's £230, £240, somewhere around there. And when I'm in your face as well as they're in my face, I won't back down. So, and I'll only do this with criminals as well. I won't do this with nice members of the public. It's only the criminals, because I just think criminals think they can do what they want, and all they want to do is go out and hurt decent members of the public. So I will like that barrier in a way. I will that person that'd stand there and say, "This isn't happening, kid." And if you do, I'm going to take you to the floor, and then it's going to be on national TV as well. So yeah, hooray for me, boo for you.
You've actually just reminded me of something here. I actually wanted to ask you a police question, something I've been really curious about, but Google never really gives like a proper answer. So I don't personally drink, but it's very often that I go to my friend's house at like 3 a.m. and come back. The amount of times I see like police stopped on the side of the road. Do police ever, like, you could be going at the exact speed limit? Do they ever just kind of like pull you over just because, just in case you are, or would they have to have like an actual reason to pull you over?
We can
Or
pull
could they
you
just
over
do
whenever we
random
want.
checks if they wanted
It's
to?
that simple. And if I were behind you going 30 miles an hour, I'd pull you over at 30 miles an hour. No one goes at 30 miles an hour. No one drives at 30 miles an hour. We always say just be yourself. If you're going along at 33, it doesn't bother us. If you're going along at 27, it doesn't bother us. But everyone that sits at 30 mile an hour, who sits and looks at the speedo at 30 mile an hour? And yeah, it's our right to be able to go and stop you. The reason being is you've got to, in the UK, you've got to carry your driving documents at all times. I don't know what it's like in America, but you have to have your driving license, your insurance, and your MOT on you at all times. Now, we used to give a thing out called a producer, which basically means you've got 7 days to produce them at a police station. But now we can just check on all our systems. So what we'll do various checks because the amount of stolen vehicles that are in our area. Like you said, you've got your mates at 3 in the morning, have a few quick drinks and drive home at 8 in the morning. The amount of people who get drunk driving in the early morning when members of the public are going to work or children are going to school is astounding. And we are there literally just to make the roads safe. We are not there to bully people. We're not there to pick on people. We are there to make sure you, your brother, your sister, your mum, your dad, your cousins, your nephews, all can get to work, get to school, or get to wherever they need to go without feeling that a drunk driver is going to smash into you or in someone in a stolen car and then run off. So that's what we do while we do. And if people don't like it, they've obviously got a problem with the police. And that's not me. I'm not. You can listen to my voice. I'm a good person. I love what I did. So I'm not. I'm not a bully. I'm not a tyrant. I'm not here to be a corporate man to get money from government. I'm just here to make sure people are safe on roads. That's all.
You spoke about in your autobiography that your efforts were influential in giving someone a life sentence due to judge commendation. Oh my god, I can't say that word. Commendation. Thank you.
Commendation.
Due to judge commendation, does it give you a sense of pride that you managed to get so much crime off the streets, especially a serious offender like that?
Yeah, it does because I always think I'm an overthinker. I'm a massive overthinker. Think about what my ancestors did 200 years ago, 300 years ago. That's why we've had this family tree done. Um, I just want to be remembered for doing something good for society. So my aspect is I've only done 19 years, but I've put a lot of people away. And these are people that deserved it. These are child rapists. These are murderers. These are armed robbers. These are bad, bad people. People with guns. People that have just randomly hurt people, stabbed people. Just a horrible dross of society. And I like to think, yeah, I've made a bit of a difference. I think I've done my bit for humanity and society, and now it's my time, in theory, to not relax, but to enjoy, hopefully, the world that we've made a bit of a better place. Now, I do understand, and I know there are bad police officers out there. I know you've had a lot of controversy in states, and I know there are people that can't be trusted. But the majority of people that wear the uniform, no matter where you are in the world, put the uniform on because they want to do exactly the same as me. They want to just make it a better place for everybody to live in. And like I said, I've got 2 children. I want it to be a better place for when they grow up. But I'll give you an example. I pursued a 12-year-old boy in a stolen car at 100 odd mile. I think it was 110 miles an hour. And then when we locked him up, crime in our local area fell by something like 50%. You just don't realise how much one person can have an impact on that percentage of crime. And all they are is a 12-year-old boy, and they're going out committing so much crime. And you just, when you do that lock up, and then you get back, and then next thing you know, you look on briefing in the morning, there's been no burglaries. Night after, there's no burglaries, no car thefts, and you're thinking like, I've done that. And yeah, people never. It's a thankless job. People don't know. You don't get an award, as in like people don't sit in at night clapping when they put the TV on. Ladies and gentlemen, Ben Pearson. Give it up for Ben Pearson. He's going to work again. So all these people that sleep, cheers, Andy. All these people that are sleeping in the beds at night don't realise that you've probably stopped them getting burgled. You've probably stopped that intruder going into their house. They don't realise, and then when they see you, all they'll do is say, "Pig, get a real job." You know what I mean? Have you been bullied at school? And do all the stuff that people say. But they don't realise that at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, you're driving past their house making sure they're safe. At 4 in the morning, you're wrestling a burglar who's armed with a knife in their back garden. They don't have a clue. So you don't expect thanks for it. You don't want thanks for it. You just wake up in the morning, crack on, do it again. Until your body lasts or your mind does. Something's got to give way first.
Yeah, I mean, we have our community director in the audience right now. He's kind of just like producing and giving us little tips. He just said that he remembers that 12-year-old police chase. Like he remembers it being on the news and stuff. So it does show that even though, like people may not remember that it was PCP Pearson who did it, or at least that in your heart you have that sense of pride that you did that, you reduced crime rate by 50%, stuff like that. I mean, that is, maybe you won't receive an award, maybe you won't, but I think more, not just in the police force, but people need to know that you're not always going to receive thanks for people, for things that you do. But if you have that internal sense of pride, that can go even further than receiving an award. You don't need to actually receive something physical, but that could just uplift your year by 5 times. You know what I mean? Knowing that you have single-handedly done that, I feel like that is.
It's a nice place to be.
Sure.
It's a nice place to being yourself, because I've always thought I am poorly. I wouldn't change the fact of where I am now or what I'm doing. I'll do look in the mirror, and because of my illness, a lot of times I look in the mirror and I think I hate myself and I hate what I look like and I hate who I am. But I also think I've done good. And like I said, I don't want to opt for it. It's nice when people do remember you. It's that I've been stopped a load of times by people saying, "Do you remember this? Do you remember that?" And one of the most significant ones I remember is a young man. I won't go into the story because it's a dark story, but one man ended up dying. We ended up having a forced entry in his house. They did the warning to his family. And then I said to the person who did the warning, please pass on my phone number. I broke into the house. I found the deceased. If they want me, so the sportsman phone and asked to meet me. So I met him outside the house, so they could claim some of his belongings before it got boarded up, and they went through everything else. And all they did was give me a big hug. They just lost a son. They were heartbroken, but they gave me a big hug. Then I saw him months later, probably 8-9 months later, and first thing they did, came up to me and hugged me again. And it just means a lot, because you're thinking like they're always going to remember you. And I always used to say this, when you're giving a warning, a death warning, be smart, smell, and that sounds stupid, smell nice. Don't look disrespectful. Make sure your top button's done all, because they'll remember you forever. They'll remember that person that's knocked on the door and said the dad's not coming home, the mum's not coming home, the son's not coming home. They remember that officer and what he smelled like. So I always say it's like you want to leave a lasting impression of positivity on people, and that's just not by being a police officer. That's by people you meet in general. You've often heard this from people. Have you met so and so? It blew me out of water. It made a lasting impression. Someone's been my tutor, or someone's been my role model. You just want to go through life and you want to just try and make as much positive impact on people as you can do. Smile, be kind, be respectful, and understand what everyone's got different needs, and just try and either educate or guide, and that's all you can do in life. And then when you come to big white pearly gates and you've ended up going upstairs and St. Peter and Paul are there and they're like, "You're right, Ben, how are you doing?" You're like, "Hello, you had a good time?" "Yeah, I've done all right." Yeah, right, you can go in then, crack on. You just want to feel like you've made a difference, because there's too many shitbags out there taking and doing what they want to do. You've got to be on the other side and go, "Yeah, I'm going to make a difference. I'm a good person." And that's all people ask from you. Just be good.
Hey, sorry for the interruption. I just want to let you know that this next topic discusses death and the mental ramifications of being on the police force. If this topic is too much for you, then you can skip about 6 minutes ahead or to the time code on screen to Andy's next segment. Thank you.
Oh, there we go. Shit, I was muted. I was looking at Andy there. I didn't know if he was going to speak. I think when you said there about obviously you get a lasting impression, people remember you, if you've given them that news. It just made me think. So within that, obviously, that must be extremely challenging to tell someone, that their dearly beloved is deceased or something along them lines. So, what to you is the most challenging part of being a police officer? Because it's obviously such a high risk job, and it may be within the police force or when you go out of it. What would you say to you is the most challenging?
So, like I said, I've had everything you can. I've been mowed over. That's run over. Bit English speak. So I've been run over by various cars. I've had all sorts of things happen to me. I've never actually been bothered about being shot on the job or stabbed on the job or killed on the job. That's never really. I've always taken that as this is what it's like going in army. You will go to war. at some point, you will have to probably fire a gun, and you will probably have to kill someone or be killed. That's never really bothered me on an aspect because I knew the job itself's dangerous. What I didn't realise is how much baggage mentally you have to take home with you. And that's what's destroyed me because I never knew. Well, I never knew I was poorly when I was poorly. I never knew I was depressed when I was depressed. I never knew I was suicidal when I was suicidal. Because you just don't know. When you're mentally ill, you just do not know. So the hardest thing is with every emergency services is what you see. And I can't. What's the age of the listeners on this podcast? Right. So yeah,
13 to
I
19,
won't
really.
go into it too much, but
I mean,
you're
it's
dealing with a lot of dead children. You're dealing with a lot of dead adults. You're dealing with people that have been dead for a long time. You're dealing with people that have been dead through massive trauma. And I'm on about in a car crash, a train crash, plane crash, or anything like that. So you're dealing with a lot of not nice things to see. And you've got to take that home with you. And you've then got to go to bed and wake up in the morning and be the dad or be the boyfriend or be the husband, the best friend, the funny one in the group. And it's hard. It is very, very hard because you're putting yourself as, I think in America you call it first responder, don't you? You're putting it as you're going to be the first responder and someone's going to dial 999 or 911 and they want somebody there. You're not going there to put placards up. You're not going there to put screens up so no one sees it, and you're not going there to just push people away as crowd control. You are going there to get involved in it, get knee deep in it, start rescuing people, start CPR, start tending to wounds, start trying to pull people out of vehicles, start just trying to do it all. And you're not then thinking, well, I'm going to get burned, I'm going to get injured, I'm going to get killed. You're doing it because it's part of who you are, because, like I said, your moral compass. So just let me give you this quick example. It's in my book, but I'll give you a quick example. So I went to a house fire and it got called as a house fire, people reported, which basically means there's people inside the house. So I got outside the house and there's some people outside the house and said there's the people trapped. And in England, we have these big, what you describe as terrace houses. So there's houses all linked together over 3 floors, old Victorian stone built houses. And the fire was in the stroke kitchen. It was more or less what you class as a small bonfire, 2 foot by 1 foot. Wasn't anything particular, didn't really drive me any concerns. So I went in anyway. Police, anybody in? And I went upstairs. And I got to the first floor. Police, anybody in? And I had to go upstairs to the attic, and no one was shouting. Now they said there was someone inside, and I thought something inside me was saying, "Don't do this, Ben. Please don't do this." So I went, "Nope, I'm not doing this." As I went back downstairs in the kitchen, the full kitchen were on fire. There were flames going across ceiling, down window blew out. If I'd have gone up to the top deck, I'd have been trapped and I would have died because there was no way for me to get out. It were probably 60 feet up. There were no way for me to get out. Firefighters weren't anywhere to be found because they weren't there at that time. I was first one there. And it turned out these people that had told me to go in had set the fire and it were a joke to them. So not once do you think about, they've done this, I'm really angry with you. You've just done it because you wanted to try and help. And then when I got out, I wasn't angry and upset. But now looking back, I am angry and upset about it. But at the time, it's just part of your job. You've just got to turn in, do your job, do it best you can. But I don't go home that night thinking, hang on a minute, and I've nearly died. When I got run over, I didn't go think I've been nearly killed. You just went, right, how long am I having off and when do I go back to work? And it's just this conveyor belt. But it's same with the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the EMT, or whatever you want to call them, ambulance, firefighters. We all do it. And then we put our boots on in the morning and your socks on, same way as everybody else. But you think, I could be putting these on for last time now. Someone could be getting a phone call. You put that in a little box in back of your mind, you shut it in, and you don't open it till you get home. So yeah, that's about it. Really, it's what you see that really does get to you.
That's definitely some. That definitely does seem like it would affect you on like a super personal level. I can't imagine that, like going through that often, I guess. I wanted to sort of change the tone here a little bit to something a bit lighter. So a lot of people get their sort of opinions on and thoughts of how the police force works from like movies and TV shows. Like, I don't know if you've ever heard of these, but like Hot Fuzz, Die Hard, like comedy, action sort of stuff. Obviously, those aren't going to be 100% accurate. And you were on a TV show about the police force, like we talked about earlier. But how would you say the actual like real life police force differs from movies like these? Like, is there anything someone might be like surprised about that you do, or like anything? Do you have any specific stories that people might not think of?
Yeah, I mean, I've got thousands and thousands of stories that I can tell you about. To be fair, everything Hollywood or America is just not like it is in the police at all. The best thing you could ever watch is Hot Fuzz. That is, I put it 80% correct to British policing. How he was, and this is no word of a lie, how he is. I can't remember what it's called, but Simon Pegg in Hot Fuzz, that's how I was. If you watch him, he's in the foot chases, the takedowns, he's in the pursuits, he's done all this. The only thing I haven't done is jump through the air, shooting my gun in the air, screaming like Keanu Reeves does. But everything else is literally how it is. And a lot of my colleagues were how his best mate is in it with ice creams and running through fences and stuff. It's just that's how it is in the police. Certain people do get it very right with. Have you watched The Sweeney? Have you watched that in States?
I can't say I have.
There's have you not? It's who is it in it?
I've not heard of that.
What's he called? Ray Winston.
No.
Ray Winston and Plan B, the rapper. Watch that. That's very
okay.
good. That's very like how it is. There's a lot of things that are taken from the police, and let's be honest, you're going to run all the good stories. You're going to run all the stuff that Hollywood wants to see and that action people want to see. All the stories that I've got, I know it sounds stupid. They're all humorous, but it just humiliates me in some way, shape, or form. Foot chases, the foot chases are phenomenal. So I'll give you an example of one foot chase I had, and then again, don't laugh at me. I had this foot chase, saw this lad most wanted. At the time, I was fit, I was strong, I was really fast, and I saw this lad that I wanted. So I literally zoomed in on him, opened car door, and I were off. So I were literally big strides behind him. Stop, police! You're under arrest. Left, right, running through all these ginnels, over these walls, in these back streets, back fences, fields. And he's running towards this graveyard, and this graveyard is surrounded by this little fence. So I don't know what it's like in America, but we build houses around graveyards. So if a graveyard's been there for 100 years, 200 years, they'll just put a plot of houses around. So these graveyards are in these weird places. You're like, why is there a graveyard here? Not the thought.
I literally have a graveyard
it's
right
not the
next to
fact
my
of
house.
like we're going to put a graveyard in this field, and then that's where you're thinking like, why is there a graveyard here? Because it's been there so long. We'll just build houses around it. So I've seen this graveyard. He's running through this graveyard, and he jumps over this small fence, and he runs. At the same time, I jump over this small fence, and as soon as my foot hits the gravestone, all I can see is my shoes. And I've hit this gravestone with such pace, it's covered in moss. And I've hit it, and literally my legs have come from beneath me and come up. I've landed on back of my neck, back of my head, and I've hit the gravestone, and it's made like that hollow sound, like a hollow coconut sound as I've hit the head. But the worst thing is I've slid across the gravestone and gone into the long grass. But what, unbeknown to me, is the area and where it is in all these houses, no one lets the dog shit in their own lawn. They put them in graveyard. So it's dog shit graveyard. And there's piles of dog shit everywhere. There's wet shit, dry shit, white shit, thick shit, slimy shit. There's every pile of dog shit you can think of, and it's full. And I go screaming across his gravestone, and then skid through all this crap. And I stand up, and I've got my stab vest on. It's up the back of my stab vest. It's in my belt. It's gone into my pockets. It's in the back of my hair. It's in my fingernails. All these different kinds, different smells, different textures. It's gone into my boots. It's got, oh my God, it were everywhere. And all I can do will go, I'll say I couldn't touch my face because I had dog shit on my hands. I couldn't touch my radio. I couldn't do anything. Eventually, they had to send a van for me, like a criminal van, because they wouldn't let me get back in car. And then when I got to the police station, I got hosed down. So I was wearing my clothes, got taken off, thrown in bin, and everything else that I was wearing, I literally stood there with hose and hosed me down from head to toe. Then I had to go change into what I already had in my locker. And I never lived it down. It was just dog shit heaven. It were all in the back of my ears. All your little creases that you think you can't get it were everywhere. So there's thousands of stories that I can go on to, but I can show you where this graveyard is. Don't ever run through it because it's just covered in dog shit. There were one time, again, I can tell you all sorts of stories. I were a very good pursuit driver, and I were in my area. I were very, very. If I got behind you, people didn't like it. And I remember like this girl called Claire pursuing this Audi RS6, very fast car, and she's pursuing it along this massive road. She's 140 mile an hour plus. Is there anyone coming to help me? I pull up at junction, X-ray Romeo 52, I'm code 6 at roundabout, sat there in my VXR 3 litre V6 or 2.8 V6 twin turbo, 180 mile an hour rocket machine. And I'm sat there thinking, yeah. So Claire, back off, I'm at this roundabout, and I can feel my head start to swell. I'm thinking, I'm the bee's knees here, everything's going to be brilliant. And then it comes into view, this Audi. So I'm like, yeah, X-ray Romeo 5-2, vehicles in sight, stand by. And it comes past me, so I set off, whoop, 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 in this pursuit car. X-ray Romeo 5-2, I am now lead pursuit vehicle. It turns hard left, and I skid out of control. It curbed, ripped tyres off my car, go over, damage my car. X-ray Romeo 5-2, I am not in pursuit anymore. And all the traffic cars just drive past me going. Well, and I can't tell you the sign on the podcast, but let me just say it rhymes with spanker. It's an English word, and it starts with a W. And then helicopters are both. Yeah,
Saturn loves that word.
Everyone in helicopter are thinking, "What have you done?" And I knackered a plate. And again, you just get things wrong. I just got it all. We're overconfidence, underability. I got it wrong. Again, last one I'll tell you is I'm driving in the middle of nowhere, and I mean the middle of nowhere. And coming the other way, two really pretty girls. And when I say girls, I don't mean girls. I mean 25, 26 years old, really pretty girl, all dressed up. And I'm like, this is a Sunday morning, like at 11 o'clock. And I'm like, where are you going at this time dressed like that? They're literally like being on a night out. And I thought they were doing the walk of shame, as in like they're being out with someone, done with the dirty, and they were walking home. So I pulled alongside these girls and I says, excuse me, girls, are you two all right? Because you're just not dressed for where we are. You should be in wellies, and we're in Yorkshire. Wellies and flat cap and shooting jacket. And they went, oh yeah, we're going to a party. It starts at so-and-so, and it's in a barn up here. It's like someone's private mansion barn. And I went, all right, then I'll just making sure you don't want to have a lift. And I realised that I was down a dead end where I was. They went, no, it's fine, officer, it's fine. Right, no problem at all. And I put car in reverse, and literally reversed straight through a dry stone wall. So there's half a wall. My car's stuck on a grass banking, half a wall up back of my car through this wall. And it all because I just saw these girls and I thought I'd ask how they were. And yeah, smashed my car up, got it all wrong. But what can you do? It's one of those things. Got a bollocking from Sergeant, held my chin up and took it on chin. So yeah, but the stories, like I said, the second to none. We've met so many celebrities. You meet the royal family, meet prime ministers. You've got to do patrolling on TV sets. You've got to stop film vehicles. Again, going down, we saw one of those trolley dollies, one of those film trolleys. You know, it's a 4x4 vehicle, and they're hanging off it with cameras. Turns around the corner. What's this doing here? All these lads on back of this vehicle. So I turned into an alleyway, put my indicators on, put blue lights on. And I looked to my side. There's a Hollywood actor, Gabriel Burns. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's a famous Hollywood actor. Just stood at the side road looking at me, shaking his head, and I drove straight into a movie set. And I'm like, what can I do? You know what I mean? You should have a big logo outside the road saying movie set. But yeah, it's I loved it, and I still love it, and I still miss it. And yeah, like I said, if people are listening and it's something you want to do it.
So you've given a lot of insight as to like how basically anyone could be a cop. And you know, as you said before, you yourself faced a bunch of hardships, like you're
That was so
I'm sorry. I can't help it.
But
Anyway, as you said, you yourself faced some hardships when you were becoming, like when you were joining the force. So just to sort of round off this episode, I wanted to ask if you have any advice for our audience, just teenagers in general, just not specifically for joining the police force, but on just life, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So my advice to everyone, and I say this all the time, life's going to throw a lot of shit at you. It's going to throw a lot of positives, and it's going to throw up more negatives than all else. And it's not so much how you deal with it. It's not so much getting back up, but it's just the fact of everyone has it. It's not just you. Life's not picking on you because you're you, and it's so unfair. Life will be hard, but like I always say, you always get what you give and what you put in. No one's going to make you rich. No one's going to make you famous, and no one's going to make your dreams come true. You've got to do it yourself. But it doesn't matter if you're failing at school or you're struggling or you're not as bright as the next kid. That's all pie in the sky. Richard Branson's got nothing. He's dyslexic and he came out of school with nothing and he's a multi billionaire. Anyone can do what they want. All you've got to do is go for your dreams, keep pushing every single day and never give up hope. But don't be told you can't do something or you're not good enough, because that's from a failure, and failures in life will always do that to other people. So stand up for your dreams. If you want your dreams, reach for stars and go for them, and no one's going to hold you back.
I think that's great advice, personally.
Is that all right?
That's a very nice message.
Oh,
yeah,
cheers,
that's
Josh.
lovely. That's great. That's
Cheers, Josh.
I have to use lovely if it's towards a British person. I can't use
Cheers.
lovely towards the Americans.
it's
they won't
fine,
get
I
that.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Ben. Hopefully everyone listening has a new perspective on the police force and what it takes to be an officer. Thank you all for listening to this episode of Teencast, and thank you to Ben for being an inspiration to many. Thanks for listening in, and catch you next time, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Thank you, Ben. Thank you.